UFC 290, Pantoja versus Moreno has to be fight of the year. I'm calling it right now. Maybe it was because it's recency bias. Maybe it was because it was experiential bias, if that's even a term. I was there and I watched it. What a back and forth battle. Two things. I underestimated Brandon Moreno. I thought Brandon Moreno was going to win, but I didn't realize how good Brandon Moreno is. With that being said, I also didn't know how good Pantoja is. So obviously, I need to go back and do a lot more watching of Pantoja now that he is our champion. We have a new flyweight champion in Pantoja. And obviously, it was a very close fight. These kind of fights where there's so much going on, those are the nights where you hate to be a judge. Those are the nights where to me, I had no idea. I was sitting next to Sean O'Malley, and he and I were kind of going round by round. And there was 2 or 3 rounds there where we're like, I have no idea how the judges score this fight. When there's so much going on that maybe the judges are going by how they feel about the each round individually. Maybe they do have a punch counter going on inside their head. Maybe they're watching the different transitions, the different exchanges being had. But this fight had so much fast-paced action, the fastest paced fight I have ever seen in my entire life, and they just kept going. And it's so funny too, listening to the crowd. These guys were going so hard that if they stopped for just 10 seconds, the boos started. That's how high of a level of expectations the crowd at T-Mobile Arena, sold out crowd at UFC 290 had for this fight. These guys would slow down and get into a grappling exchange, or I believe it was Pantoja who took Moreno's back there in the 5th round. And immediately, 5 seconds in, the crowd started booing because they wanted more. They wanted blood. They wanted action because it was such a crazy back and forth battle. As I said, sitting next to Sean O'Malley, who is a very fast-paced fighter himself, very fast-paced fighter. Even he was making a ton of comments like, I can't believe what I'm watching. Can't believe how fast-paced these guys are going. I can't believe the punch count, the expenditure of energy, not just in the punches and the kicks and the knees and the elbows, but then in the crazy fast-paced grappling. Both guys at different moments in the fight, getting in grappling exchanges, one guy evading while the other guy chases him down with wild winging shots. There was zero moments of stalling in this fight. There was 0 moments where guys didn't have their foot on the gas. And as I said, hats off to Pantoja. There's a lot of people out there who were unhappy with the decision, and I get that too. It was a very Mexican-friendly crowd, so much so that I was there because I had an appearance with the VIP thing like at 5 o'clock, and I wanted to be there early to watch Robbie Lawler's last fight. And even during the prelims, there was 2 other fighters of Mexican descent on the card on the prelims, and the whole crowd, which was only about half full at that point, sounded like it was a sold-out crowd already. The Mexican fans showed up. So I get the court of public opinion and the roar of the crowd in particular. UFC 290 made it more seem like Moreno was winning the fight. I get it was a very Mexican heavy crowd, but Pantoja showed that he is a champion for a reason. We also heard Dana talk. I think it was a press conference that he was completely okay with a 4th fight. So you might see a 4th fight. And for those of you guys, let me lay out the history. These guys fought on Dana White Contender Series. Pantoja beat him. And then now they have fought 2 other times. So Pantoja is now 3-0 against Brandon Moreno. And that's an interesting psyche to have. Because I believe, as I said, I think I underestimated Brandon Moreno. I thought Brandon Moreno was going to win, but I didn't quite realize how skilled and ferocious the man is. So I have a whole new respect for Brandon Moreno in this loss than I had before, even though, as I said, it was a loss. But to think about the psyche, I've had rematches before. I've had rematches where guys have beaten me. I've had rematches where I have beat the guy that I'm facing. It's always an interesting thing. Obviously, Brandon Moreno, no stranger to rematches and trilogies. Obviously, his last fight was a trilogy fight, I believe. So the psyche of that, when you're stepping in the octagon, you're seeing another face, another frame, 2 arms and 2 legs in front of you, but there's something different about it because it's familiar. And you also have to deal with the skeletons of the past because, as we said, Moreno had lost the 2 previous fights to Pantoja. That's an interesting psyche to have. It's an interesting psyche to know that you have a guy in front of you that even though if you think you're better than him, your past, the story that you have told yourself, will continue to tell yourself that you're not as good as him because you have lost to him. And I think Brandon Moreno has improved leaps and bounds since his last loss before UFC 290 to Pantoja. But still, I gotta think that had something to do with this performance. But as I said, hats off to Brandon Moreno. He still looked phenomenal. He still looks like he should be our champion or could be our champion. But I need to pay more attention to Pantoja. Pantoja has made me a fan. He has made me a believer. And as the boss man, Dana White, said, we might see a 4th fight. It'll give both guys an opportunity to go back and recalibrate, because just because Pantoja has won doesn't mean what got you to this dance at 290, what got you the belt, is going to get you to your next win against Brandon Moreno. Brandon Moreno is a skilled championship level fighter who's going to go back and he's going to make some adjustments. The funny thing is, though, you look at a fight like this that was so closely contested. I could have seen it going either way. What do you change if you're Brandon Moreno? I don't see a lot of changes that could be had that Brandon Moreno can make that would have necessarily gotten him the win. Both guys landed big shots. Both guys got bloodied up. Both guys won striking exchanges. Both guys won grappling exchanges. Neither guy faded at all. And I know that's a kind of commonplace down at 125. You know, those guys got ridiculous cardio. I just did a video about Alexander Volkanovski. He was very interesting to me for him to have that level of cardio at 145, but also used to weigh 210 pounds. These are guys who probably weigh 138 pounds soaking wet. Cardio is their life. They wouldn't have to train for 6 weeks and still have better cardio than me or you or the next guy. But that being said, in this fight, neither guy waned at all. Each guy won striking exchanges. Each guy won grappling exchanges. Each guy had cardio through the roof. And it's left up to the court of public opinion of 3 judges sitting cage side. And we saw Brandon Moreno hang his head in a loss, and a new champion in Pantoja getting his hand raised. And as I said, Pantoja, you have made me a believer. I now will be doing a lot more research, going back and watching all of your fights, trying to figure out the resume that you have accrued, which I've seen some of your fights, of course, but the resume that you have accrued that have gotten you to this level of a championship fight, because it was absolutely amazing. Hats off to both guys. And if you were there at UFC 290, you got to enjoy it as I did. And if you watched on TV, on pay-per-view, obviously it was an absolute treat. Great night of fights, and one of the best fights actually the best fight of the night goes to these guys. And might I say, the fight of the year, Pantoja versus Brandon Moreno. These boys deserve one of these UFC trophies, I believe. We'll see what happens the rest of the year. But new champion Pantoja. Moreno, keep your head up. You will be back stronger. And I would like to see a 4th fight. I would like to see another rematch and I would like to be there because that was absolutely bananas. Hats off to both guys. God bless. I'll see you at the top.